It's the story of an exorcist banishing a poltergeist from a family home, but I'm going to tell you an astonishing, real event that took place in England. My goddaughter and her husband bought a it was a big house on the top of a hill, and it had the name of the person who established the town, but they had to redo the house. They got it at a very good price, and they were surprised that it was haunted. And her priest told me when he came back to Greece, and I got in touch with her. I also asked my father confessor, what could cause a house to be haunted? What could cause demonic spirits to be bothering and inflicting fear and chaos in the lives of the occupants, the new occupants of this home, of the home that they bought? And that's why we do have in Christian orthodoxy, and we had it since the Old Testament, special prayers that the priest, not just an exorcist, every priest has to cleanse the house of any type of demonic spirits. There are also the prayers of the holy water that you have to sprinkle the house with, depending on the events that took place in the house. For example, if there was a sudden intruder, that some kind of a robbery, or some kind of a robbery that took that caused a person to be harmed in the house, or even the person harmed had some kind of a blood injury, that has another special prayer to it, and other more intense crimes that took place in the house, and especially having to do with those who practice black magic in the house. That's one of the reasons why a lot of houses in England are haunted, because of the fact that there were a lot of witches, warlocks, white magic, gray magic, black magic, whatever you call it. It's magic and it's demonic, and that causes the calling in or the opening up of doors and windows to demonic spirits in the house, and they don't leave unless the priest or a properly ordained priest comes in and reads these prayers. I'm going to give you a very true account of what happened to my daughter-in-law's house, and also other houses in that area bought by Christian Orthodox, Greek Cypriots, and others who used to buy the house, the new houses, 10% of the market value, and they were marked down because of the problems of the hauntings of the houses. But they would buy them anyway, call in the Christian Orthodox priest to read the prayers, and they cleansed the house, and that was that. But this has to do with a poltergeist being banished through exorcism prayers from a family home. This is on Unexplained Mysteries, and then I'll go into my true events to enlighten you, because these are it's very important that we cleanse our house. Oh, and not only my goddaughter, I want to tell you what one of my viewers wrote me, having to do with a new development over in the United States, over an area that was an Indian burial ground, but he didn't know that until they found out later. And he did some research and found out later what was happening to him. Now, a young couple was forced to flee from their house in Hull, England, after a spate of paranormal disturbances. While the 1973 movie Exorcist was assuredly fictional, ghosts and demons are actually taken very seriously by the church, so much so that, in fact, even to this day, there exist actual real-life exorcists who offer their services to those who need them. One particular notable example of an exorcist in action occurred back in 2011 and involved the case of a young couple who had been tormented by what they believed to be a malevolent force. Over the course of 3 years, they experienced strange sounds, objects being thrown around, electronics being switched on and off, sightings of unknown figures, and mysterious voices. The woman's mother even claimed to have been choked whenever she visited the house. Everything changed, however, when Reverend Tom Willis was called in to conduct an exorcism. Quote, "The blessing was quite routine, but I rarely felt anything, and I have never seen a ghost," he said. "Hauntings are usually lonely spirits that have refused to move on. What I do brings relief to both the spirit and those bothered by it." And he says, I sometimes get a feeling, but for most part, I just let God deal with it. So sure enough, within a week of his visit, the couple started to feel a lot better about the house. The woman said, I can breathe again now. It was like the house was filled with fresh air. It feels strange, like I have my house back. And the husband agreed, adding, while everyone was upstairs, I started to feel a lot better. The cold feelings I have been having have gone. Sadly, Reverend Willis, who carries out hundreds of exorcisms, died back in 2014. Now, whether or not you happen to believe in ghosts and demons, however, there is no denying the impact that Willis and others like him have had on their lives of those who do, and ultimately, perhaps, such cases are, above all, a testament to the power of belief. This is the source was from Hull Daily Mail, and it's on Unexplained Mysteries. And I want to tell you first, before my goddaughter, I want to tell you, one of my viewers, when I uploaded a video having to do with calling our priest over to do the prayer of the holy water in our houses. We also get holy water every month from our Christian Orthodox Church, and we sprinkle it around the house to get rid of the demonic entities. They hate holy water. They just hate it. So you sprinkle your house. You also drink it every morning if you want a few drops. And you get that every month from your church. You can also have the priest come over and do the prayer of the holy water at your house, and you usually offer them coffee. You sit around and talk. If you have any questions on, doctrine, theological matters, and it's a good chance to have a lot of questions answered for you. Plus, it's a very big blessing for cleansing the house. Anyway, I did a video on that, and one of my viewers from Oklahoma called, gave me a comment saying, I wake up, we're renting this new house. I'm not going to tell you the city. And what happens is that he was married, and he also had his mother-in-law living with him. And he says that he would, many a time, he would find himself on the floor in the morning. Or whenever he'd wake up, he'd find that he was on the floor of the bed. He was like dragged off the bed and put on the floor next to his bed. And this was terrible because it caused havoc with the marital relations of the couple. You can imagine now, how is it that the husband ends up on the floor after a couple of hours of sleeping? What's going on? So he ended up sleeping on the living room couch, so he wouldn't disturb his wife. And he kept on he found himself on the floor again, and this wouldn't stop. And besides that, he couldn't get proper sleep. His work was suffering because he was always dozing off at work because he was never getting any sleep. So I wrote to him and I said, go to your nearest, Christian Orthodox church, tell all this to the priest, and get some holy water if he'll give it to you, because the man was not Christian Orthodox. I don't know what he was. And I also told him to call a very good priest in New York, and he called them to tell them all this that he wrote to me. He called them, and he sent me a reply saying, I called them, and I was talking to somebody there for over an hour. So he was his questions were being answered as to what to do, blah blah blah. He told me this, and then he found out by doing some research that the development, the cul-de-sac and those areas that were newly built were over a Native American Indian burial ground. And so that answered the fact that this might have been one of the spirits that were malevolent towards him. So I told my priest here from our little church in the shanty town, St. Sozan de Capata, I told him, the viewer's comment, and he said, and his suggestion was, tell him to move. Tell him to move. Find another house, And so that's what I told him. I said, since you're renting and you've got this problem with the poltergeist in your house attacking you, and you're suffering bodily and, your work and everything, your family life, move from the house. So that's what I told him. Now, that's that part of it. The second was my goddaughter. They were so happy to find this beautiful house. It looked like something, a small level of what Mr. Darcy would live in. On top of this, I was somewhere on the southwest of London, and they had to refurbish. They had to renovate the house. It was a 2-story house, so they lived on the first floor. They had to renovate the second floor, and they had a little shower, a little shower stall in the first floor. That's where they took their baths. But they had workmen coming in every day doing the second floor. Then they would move to the second floor and they would renovate the first floor. Okay, so they had these workmen coming in, and every day, and the workmen had this little shed, tool shed, they would put their tools in. So next day they'd come, they'd open the shed and get their tools and start working. So every day they would come, the shed was open and their tools were strewn all over the place. And they had to go hunting for half a day. They had to go hunting for their tools. Besides that, my goddaughter's husband was traveling a lot. Like half the month he was away to Asia because he had to do with managing hotels, and he had to, was in charge of the Asian hotels, and he had to travel a lot. So she was there with her parents and her little son, and her parents would keep hearing people running up and down the stairs, and mumbling and human voices, shrieks and whatever. People talk to each other, and also running water, like somebody was filling a bathtub with water, whereas there was no bathroom upstairs, no bathtub, no running water upstairs. And my goddaughter would tell them the house is haunted, and they said to her, because they were Protestants, said we don't believe in things like that. And obviously I baptized her. She was baptized into Christian Orthodoxy. We also baptized her husband into Christian Orthodox. And so she kept on asking her priest to come and do the holy water service and, sprinkle the house with holy water. And for about a couple of days, everything would be fine. The workers' tools were not being strewn all over the place. And after a while the month was sort of coming to an end, the poltergeist activity would start with their tools, and also with the second floor, with the people running up and down the stairs, people screaming and mumbling and running back and forth from over their heads on the second floor, where there was nobody there. I mean, they were obviously evil spirits, and the running water in the bathtub. There's no bathtub upstairs. You know what I mean? Okay. So when her priest came, he told me this, because I asked her about her. I said, she's avoiding me. I asked how her spiritual life is going, and she's saying, fine, everything's fine, and I know something is wrong, because she doesn't sound normal. It's like she doesn't want to talk about it. It's like she's hiding something. So what's going on? He says, her house is haunted, and I go every month, and it's a problem because I have to go, it's an hour back and an hour forth, and I go every month. And I do the holy water service every month in her house. So, and what he told me shocked me. He told me all these, people running up and down, the tools being strewn all over the place, and the water running in the bathtub, people running up and down the stairs, and her thank goodness she wasn't alone with the baby. Her parents were there, so they were witnesses to what was going on. And I told all this to my father confessor. I said, this is happening with my goddaughter in outside of London. Why is this happening? And from what I understand, this is happening to a lot of houses in the UK. And my godfather, my father confessor, said, tell her to be above sin and not to fear anything, to be in the holy mysteries, confession, and holy Eucharist, and not to fear anything. Of course, she couldn't do that because she was very far away from Orthodox Church where she was. So she just let that go, and even though she was very active in the church, obviously she opened windows and doors to terrible entities like this, tried to harm them, tried to harm her. People were going to her to ask her for prayers, and they would be helped with her prayers. That's how strong her conversion was. Okay, I mean, her whole neighborhood in London she used to live in Sussex. They heard about her. They would knock on her door asking her for prayers. Then some people would go back and say thank you to her. And she was shocked. She's just not me. It's Christ that's doing this. So, anyway. So my father confessor told me that it's most probably because somebody in that house was doing black magic in the past, and the evil spirits were there because they were what's the word for it? Sort of called in there in that area, in that house when they were performing all these black magic rituals and whatever. And this was going on in a lot of houses in the UK. And a lot of people would bring in their priests doing the Holy Unction prayers, and it's one of the 7 mysteries, the sacraments, and also the holy water prayers, and they would cleanse their house. And that's why they would buy them at like 10% of market value, and because they had a problem. The problem was the haunting. And this we have since the Old Testament. You had prayers of cleansing of the house with the living water from the Old Testament. And if you read the various passages there, it's full of things like that, full of special prayers by the priests having to do with how to cleanse a house. So that's what I wanted to tell you. And okay, this was Unexplained Mysteries, and you can go on and on with this. I mean, it's a very important thing to stay spiritually strong and clean. And that's why our Lord Jesus Christ gave us all these weapons, so that we can have a way to fight against these malevolent spirits to protect ourselves. In the meantime, I wish you all a wonderful, merry, blessed, Merry Christmas and a happy and prosperous, healthy and peaceful New Year. God bless you all. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.